Before we call it a day on this day 2 of Shacknews Awards deliberations, we thought we would give out one last award, and this is going to be for the best remake of 2021. So, we've had a lot of remakes the past year, or past like 4 years, I would say. But
yeah.
I'm not. This was one that I was kind of scratching my head on until I saw someone else's nomination. I was like, oh, duh, yeah, we'll give it that. So, who's got a nomination for this category?
I'd like to hear from TJ, because it doesn't have to be now. Donovan can go first, but I will probably disagree with TJ on this whenever he does speak to his.
Just know that up front, TJ, you're wrong. So whatever you're about to say, Dave's let us.
Oh,
know.
that's basically it.
Nothing.
Yeah, I can be swayed though. I can be swayed.
Resident Evil 4 VR is 100% like the story is there. The situation is there. The items are exactly where you left them in the last port that you played of Resident Evil 4 VR. Or I'm sorry, Resident Evil 4. However, the gameplay is so vastly different and creates such a different experience that it's a remake to me. It's not a port. It's if you call it a port, you're silly, because it plays far too different from vanilla Resident Evil 4 to be considered a port. But beyond that, it's essentially like the everything is there. Every part of Resident Evil 4 that should be there is there, but it's strapped to this like extremely different experience that actually like I enjoy it far more than I don't think I could possibly go back to playing Resident Evil 4 with a controller, which is going to be a problem when the remake comes out.
So
you just defeated yourself.
You used a few interesting words there.
You know what I mean.
You said it's going to be weird when the game comes out, implying that this isn't the remake.
The game formerly titled Resident Evil 4 Remake, which will actually be the second remake.
So here's the thing. You said a couple of interesting things there. First of all, you said when the remake comes out. We can't go back. You can't take that back. Second,
words. I heard those words.
You also said, TJ, this is a remake to me. I feel like if you have to say that, if you're trying to qualify that, you probably don't have the best argument. Because here's the thing. Before this version of RE4, I would say the best version of that game was the Wii version for all the reasons that RE4 VR hit with me so well. The graphics weren't improved for sure, but the mechanics, the way you interacted with the game, were changed enough that I could not. That going back to at that time the PS2 or GameCube version to me was just inferior. It felt inferior. The standard bearer for remakes, in my opinion, is still Capcom's Resident Evil games. And if you look at any other proper remake they've done, whether 1, 2, or 3. It was vastly different in terms of graphics engines, in terms of systems, in terms of progression, in terms of the organic way that the progression and the systems were added onto. Resident Evil 4 VR, to me, is the closest the game has come to a remake without it being a remake. And I love this game, but it is not
a remake.
What is the engine it's running on?
A port, right?
It's a port. It is. No. And the problem is that we're lacking a term to do this justice. It's not a remake. It's not a remaster, although it's closer to a remaster than a remake. And it's not quite a port either, but if I had to choose one, it is a port. It's just a very comprehensive reworked
it's
port.
Like drastically different in this. Like TJ's made some good points about user input side of things. But it's the first person perspective is a huge difference between the original game and this. Like that lends to like I don't think it's a remake. I don't. But I think that we're bringing up an interesting point here. VR adaptations of games require a lot of dev work.
Yes, they do.
Outside of what I don't know, whatever the hell the GTA trilogy was.
Yeah.
You know, like you know what I'm saying? Like the effort
D-master. It was a D-master.
But the effort put into RE4 VR is way more intensive than what you would see from a remaster on a console. And I think that's TJ's point here, and I think it's sound, but I don't especially with RE4 remake coming next year. I'm troubled to call this the best remake of this year.
TJ's points were totally sound, but it is categorically, objectively not a remake.
It's an adaptation. I think is the best way.
It's an adaptation, actually. Yeah.
Is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 a remake or a remaster?
It's a remake.
It's a remake. Yeah. Well, what was your point?
I think that serves my point because Tony Hawk's 1+2 just has some extra skaters in there, but otherwise it's essentially rebuilt to be the exact same game.
Rebuilt.
Rebuilt.
New assets.
Let me ask you this.
Same thing with Resident Evil 4.
No, well, let me ask you this. Is Diablo 2 Resurrected a remaster or a remake?
It's an expansion, isn't it?
No.
It's a remaster.
It is a remaster, but why is it a remaster?
Because it runs directly on the original code.
Exactly.
So this is
everything.
So
it is different.
This runs on Unreal Engine 4, and it uses all new movement and rendering and all that.
So it is a remake in that sense. It is
in
a new
that
engine.
sense.
To me, the engine plays into this a lot. That's why I asked earlier.
But the reason I go back to other Resident Evil remakes is you can see, okay, this is actually the definition of a remake because Capcom has literally done this 3 times before,
and they're willing to call it remake.
They call it remake.
So that's why I'm like, from a marketing standpoint, if this was called Resident Evil VR or Resident Evil 4 VR or Resident Evil 4 Remake VR, I don't know what the fuck they would call it. They're not messaging us that way. This is just Resident Evil 4 VR.
But I don't think the existence of Resident Evil 4 Remake denies the plausibility of Resident Evil 4 VR being a remake. I think that it just means that there's 2 remakes and they go in vastly different directions.
That's plausible, but it's not true.
I mean, I see TJ's point. Like, it is VR. It is a completely different experience. Like, I see where there could be this is what makes it difficult.
I just look at the work required. There was a ton of work required to get
there
this
absolutely was. There
on
absolutely
the
was.
processor that it's running on, with the input devices that it's using, factoring in
David,
head movement. You know, like, there's things in this game that simply did not exist when it shipped on GameCube. And that's where it's like, it's this blurry line. It's definitely not a remaster. I'm going to keep fixating on this word adaptation, because I think it's a better way to describe it than remake. Because they took a game and they adapted it for a specific hardware device.
The other problem with this, and I'm not saying we're closing the discussion on RE4 VR, but there is another game this year that was an actual bona fide remake. I think that's
I'm wondering if I'm misunderstanding your argument for why RE4 VR isn't a remake.
there's no like textbook definition for this.
Yeah.
But I see your point, and to TJ's point, like this there's more work that went into this than in most remakes, but it is still, other than the systems and the way that you interact with the games, and again, almost all these arguments are going to be somewhat reductive, it is still Resident Evil 4. You know, to Asa's point, there were systems in the Wii version that didn't exist in the GameCube version.
So is that not the same as Resident Evil 2 remake?
No, Resident Evil 2, that's a completely different thing. That is
still just walking around a police station with a third-person perspective, having to raise your gun using tank controls.
The systems, the map design.
But you're not using tank controls anymore.
It's not the same game at all.
It's not fixed. Yeah, but it was a remake. And did we not vote for it as a remake when it came out?
I don't know if we had this category when RE2 Remake came out. I think we did.
We might have been close to it because we knew about like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is another.
RE2,
can we do like an
Remake was our number 2 game of the year it came out. Like, it was not just in consideration for best remake. I don't think we had an award for it that year though.
Maybe we should do like an intermediate vote on if this could be considered. Like, there you go, and then that solve the problem, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
I would agree with that. I'd like a judge's ruling on if this is considered.
I personally think it should be considered. But
I'll vote for
it's
consideration
not a traditional remake, and I'm not going to vote for it. But I think TJ's made a good case for why. And like I said, it's an adaptation, but it definitely resembles the work required for a remake instead of just a port. That's kind of where I'm at with it, but I don't know if anyone feels different.
I'm the same way. I agree with Austin. It is a remake. It's a VR remake is what it is. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. And I think what's muddying the waters here is that there is a remake for this game coming out, and that's
it will have a brand new engine. It will change the story. It will change the systems. It will change the progression.
Exactly.
It will be a remake.
Yeah,
and it'll probably win this award.
Yes,
it probably
if
will.
not Game of the Year. But I look forward to that debate next year.
And I would not be upset to lose this argument because I agree with a lot of TJ's points. I just think that, again, the clearest example is you can look at 3 other Resident Evil games and see how they are very clearly remakes compared to their original source material.
Yeah, and my point at that is that if we consider Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 a remake, then Resident Evil 4 VR is a remake for a lot of the same reasons.
Yeah, I agree with TJ.
Here's one I'm curious about, and feel free to say no. Is Pac-Man 99 a remake or is it an entirely new game?
It's a new game.
Yeah.
That's a battle royale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's a brand new game.
I mean, that's fair. My logic was it's basically Pac-Man.
You still got blue balls.
That's like, for me, considering like a Call of Duty Battle Royale a remake. It's not.
Yeah,
it's a new game.
I don't think we would have considered Tetris 99 a remake either. I just think these are...
Okay.
It also doesn't help that like the industry hasn't really codified these terms either, right? Like my definition may not be like correct. There are just a lot of examples you can point to. Like Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, very clearly a remake, you know. But also like a lot of developers and publishers conflate remaster, remake to the point where the smartest move is to use something like Diablo 2 Resurrected. That way they don't have to commit to a fucking term and get into these discussions, right? Like, it's weird.
I mean, I would say that Pac-Man 99 is more like a proper new sequel.
I think it's a new game. I just think it's a new game.
Yeah.
I view Tetris 99 the same way. It's a new Tetris.
Yeah, it's a new game.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. I had a feeling that it would lean that way, but I will try and get Pac-Man Games Awards anyway, anyhow. So I thought it was worth
asking.
asking.
Donovan. Tell me about the
remake
of the year.
Oh man, no.
I've just been waiting in the wings by my time. But no, so one big remake that came out this year was Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. They are true full creations of the original Pokemon Diamond and Pearl from 2006. They're almost one-to-one remakes. Pokemon's done a lot of remakes before, but a lot of them have been kind of like retellings. But this one follows the original story to a T, much more than any previous ones did. You start off in Twin Leaf Town. It's still Dialga Palkia, gym leaders, all that. Like, it's not even... They don't even go by the Platinum, which is like the definitive version, I guess, of this generation. And it's faithful, but they also bring in a lot of the quality of life elements that came after Diamond and Pearl, like the XP share no longer being like an item that you have to hot potato around your party. Leveling up is much simpler. That grind that you had to do back in Diamond and Pearl is completely gone. At this point, you can just kind of progress through the game at your own pace. They added the feature from Sword and Shield where you can just access your Pokemon from anywhere. You don't have to be at like a PC in a Pokemon Center. Arguably the biggest one, and probably one of the biggest criticisms of Diamond and Pearl they got rid of, is HMs, where they'd be like physical hazards in the overworld, like, oh, there's a big boulder in your way, and you've got to teach your Pokemon this weak-ass move to move it out of the way. Like, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to have, like, for lack of a better term, an HM slave, like, that you just use to get all the hazards out of the way. They built it into the Pokedex, which is like this watch gear you carry around, which makes it a lot less stressful because you used to have to, like, waste a spot on your party just to get around the map conveniently. There's no more sprites. It's all 3D. All the Pokemon have like their Sword and Shield animations. They've redone all the environments. When you're in battles, you're not just sitting on like a little flying saucer. There's actual environments. When you're in a school, you see bookshelves and tables and people standing in the background. The day-night cycle, you can see like when the sun's coming through the windows. They've actually made those games better without like compromising anything about them. Like playing through them, I'm still like, this is like old school Pokemon, because like Diamond and Pearl were right on the cusp of like that kind of paradigm shift in design philosophy for Pokemon games, and it still very much feels like that old original Gen 1, 2, 3, 4 before we got to 5, 6, 7, 8, which is kind of where we're in now. So I think those are easily my best remakes of 2021.
Now, here's what I'm curious about, Donovan.
Yeah.
Like, I believe your score was a 7
yeah.
out of 10.
Yeah. No, I did. I gave this game a 7 out of 10. I knew this would come up during this. I was like, someone's gonna bring this up to me, and I stand by it. And as somebody who, like, Pokemon is my favorite video game franchise, bar none, no argument. I'm very hypercritical of what they do in Pokemon games. So yeah, like I when they announced this game, I was like, well, I'm holding this shit to the fire because Diamond and Pearl are like my favorite video games of all time. And the reason I gave it a 7 out of 10 was because, although I love it being a faithful remake, personally, I would have loved if they gave it like the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire treatment, where they like made an entire new game on top of it. This one wasn't developed by Game Freak; it was done by I believe it's ILCA, which is fine. They did an amazing job with it. But as just a Pokemon fan, I would have loved if they had built on top of it more, which they didn't. Which I think, for the purpose of this argument, doesn't really matter because it's still a great remake. And then also in the underground, I wish that they had kept secret base decoration. Those are the main things that I think took away from it. And I also think that, like, playing this game after just playing a bunch of Sword and Shield, like, it put into perspective how good Sword and Shield actually is and how little credit that game got. So that's why I gave it a 7, which, to be fair, on our review scale is still like good game. That's not a bad score.
Yeah,
sevens are good. Sevens are good. Yeah.
Sevens are good.
Yeah. No. I know. It's just, in a lot of like the casual gamer conscience, it's like reviews are like at worst 6, at best 10, and that's just like the scale. But yeah, no, I think for the purpose of this argument, it's still the best remake, even with that.
My other question is: can you capture a Psyduck?
You can. Psyduck is in Diamond and Pearl. In fact, even in the story,
you should have just led with that, man.
When
you should have just been like,
there's even a scene, Blake, where you go to one route is like blocked. There's like 8 Psyduck like sitting there, like meandering around in the overworld, and you've got to like herd them out. It's a whole story beat early in the game. So yeah,
right.
Psyduck is in the game. It's true.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Yeah, I went through the list of just releases this year, trying to find something other than Pokemon, and it was sparse for remakes this year.
Is Super Mario 3D World a port or it's a port, right?
It's a port.
So that doesn't count.
That's a port. That's
it was a GTA.
That's
Get the fuck out of here.
Best D-Master goes to GTA.
I mean, we can talk about it. It's shameful. It's a shameful money grab. But it's not just at anything.
From the perspective that it makes you appreciate the original versions even more, maybe.
You appreciate them so much that you run to the store to buy them and they're gone.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
Right? Yeah, no, I mean, I have my original copy still, and like that's the only thing Grand Theft Auto the trilogy really succeeded as, was like, oh, I remember when this game was fun. And now I want to go back and play those actual specific versions rather than the fucking crap fest that we were handed. Big old crap sandwich.
They're not remakes on it though. So.
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty adamant about that.
They were very quick to say that that's not a remake. That's just
definitive,
or a remaster, right? Like
that was a just evil money grab. Is what it was. Let's just be honest.
It was like they took the Grand Theft Auto trilogy, translated it into French, and then retranslated it back into English. Something got lost in the retranslation of the retranslation. It's a cell phone version of the games. It's not even like the original versions. Like, and it's so goddamn bad.
Have you seen that South Park where the kids watched the new Indiana Jones movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. That's how I feel about the GTA trilogy. I'll leave it at that.
I gotta, as the person, like, I did our impressions, and I am shocked that I loathe playing a Grand Theft Auto game. You
told me one night you felt physically ill from playing it.
Yeah. It made me sick to my stomach.
That's a box quote if I've ever heard one.
May induce vomiting. I think they have to put that as a warning, actually.
I don't know.
Yeah, but no, fuck that. I mean, if Donovan says there's Psyducks in this Pokemon game, he's got my vote.
I think we're ready to vote. Are there any other remakes people want to?
Well, I had a suggestion.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Would you consider Super Monkey Ball to be a remake?
Yes.
Because I feel like Super Monkey Ball was a lot of fun. And
it is.
It's got my only gripe with Super Monkey Ball after playing it is that it doesn't have online play. But as far as like local multiplayer, it's awesome.
I will say this: Monkey Target is terrible in Banana Mania. You can go look at our YouTube video for it. Just go look at the comment section. We had a very short amount of time that we could capture gameplay. It was like 10 minutes or something, TJ, right, for their preview.
Yeah.
I captured bowling, I captured Target, and I captured a little bit of gameplay of just the regular main game. The Sega fans gravitated to the Target video because they were like, this is not a faithful recreation of Monkey Target from Monkey Ball 1 or Monkey Ball 2. And why I'll say that I agree that it is a remake of sorts, it's not a remake in the sense that Monkey Bowling and Monkey Ball 1 was drastically different than Monkey Bowling and Monkey Ball 2. And that was also the case with Monkey Target. I think people's most favorite Monkey Target game was in Monkey Ball 2. They took some of those party games and they did remake them. To your point, Danny, like they're brand new experiences. But I would argue they're worse than the originals in that sense. But as a package, definitely a valid nomination. I reviewed Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, which was a remake. And I think I gave it like a 5 or something, or 6.
It was so bad.
It's a terrible game. But they did remake a game there. This is kind of like that, except probably my go-to things that I was looking forward to in Banana Mania are not as enjoyable as they would have been in the originals.
And that's a thing that, like, a big part of that was like the engine change. They made Banana Mania in Unity, which wasn't available when the first games came out. So it is from the ground up a recreation of those things in a new engine.
Yeah.
And for purists, that's an upsetting thing because the tricks that they use to get through the levels suddenly aren't the same anymore because of the physics changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing that's the same thing going on with Monkey Target.
Yeah, you can see the speedrunners talk about Monkey Ball, the main game, and yeah, there are those discrepancies that you're talking about, TJ. But I was pleasantly surprised that most of the shortcuts that were kind of physics based still worked in the main game. But yeah, that new engine was way more noticeable in Target than anything else to me. Bowling to a lesser extent, because I think they kind of leaned towards Monkey Ball 2 with the remake versus 1. And it's still good. Like I'll still play Monkey Bowling.
Yeah, it's still like 400 levels of Monkey Ball and all the mini games for better or worse.
Very good value. The game is a good value, and for Monkey Ball fans, it's a lot of fan service. Also, that menu song, the main menu song,
so good.
Slaps so hard.
Yeah, that's a banger.
Like, I want Mega Ran to do like a remix of that or something. But Monkey Ball. That's a good nomination. I had not thought of that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1+2 did come this year on Switch, and
oh snap!
But
that's also another.
Yeah,
that was already.
We already have given them awards.
Yeah,
I think so. They can. Activision can figure out how to behave better before we start handing them awards.
There you go.
But yeah, let's get to voting. Right? Let's get voting.
All right.
Let's start with Chris. What you got?
Then he managed to convince me I'll go with Monkey Ball.
Super Monkey Ball, Banana Mania. That's going to be like a very last second nomination that ends up winning this, I feel. I'm going to wait. Blake, what you got?
Oh, man. Pokey Donovan convinced me.
That dang Psyduck.
He all he had to say was, give Psyduck some love and We're good to go there.
Secret weapon.
Sam, what you got, Sam?
I follow my main man TJ's logic here with Resident Evil. I'm gonna throw my vote behind the Resident Evil 4 VR remake.
Okay. Bill.
He threw that in there.
There's too much turmoil around Resident Evil. So I'm strategically going to vote for Pokemon and then call in that favor with Donovan later in another category.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
So there's like alliance forming?
Bill, are you sure you're not? You're from Canada, right? You're not a U.S. politician.
I'm gonna warn you. David has experience, quite a bit of experience of having his backstabbed by Donovan in deliberation.
I'm pretty sure that I've had my backstabbed by Donovan this way too. Yeah. No, I honestly just thought that he had.
Just let you know.
I actually wanted to go RE, but I just don't feel like there is a remake coming for that, so Donovan was kind of like the default after that.
TJ, you're sticking with your guns, right?
I am, because there are other remakes that might qualify more as remakes, but Resident Evil 4
That's the point of these deliberations, right? To hash this stuff out.
Resident Evil 4 remake, or Resident Evil 4 VR, is a proper remake to me, just for how different the experience is. And a lot of these other remakes were flawed in some way. I didn't find a single fault when I was playing through Resident Evil 4 VR. I had fun with that whole thing the whole way through.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Greg, what you got?
Definitely Resident Evil 4 VR, because it is a completely different game, built from the ground up, that has a lot of different mechanics than the original Resident Evil 4. You can do a lot more stuff in it. Like you said, throwing an egg, you can throw items. Like, that was fun. I was like, hey, I didn't know you could do that. I think that speaks loads to more of a remake than just making a Pokemon game 3D.
That's not what they did, though. That's not what they did.
They made a little bit. You even said, Don, you wish they built more on top of it, because they took some stuff out and they made some small quality of life changes.
A lot of what he said had to do with the age of the game,
yeah.
This specific game is right on the border of a paradigm shift in the whole franchise, so it's going to feel older. And I think they would have pissed off fans if they didn't make it feel older.
That's a fallacy, because if they make something Pokemon, some Pokemon fans are going to be pissed off.
I mean, Pokemon fans are the worst.
Yes, Pokemon fans, terrible. But I don't know. Okay.
Fandom in general.
Oh, yeah.
I stand to TJ's Cortex article about Pokemon. Everyone should read it.
Greg, let me throw something at you real quick.
This game solves TJ's issue, by the way, that he had with it. That's not present in this game.
This is when I finished RE4 VR last night, that was the third time I finished that game this year. I played it on Switch 2 other times. Now let me bring up a point. I used my exact same strategy, every weapon, every upgrade path, etc., through all the bosses, every room, every encounter. I did the same thing in RE4 VR. I was just going like this, and it was awesome. But like that thing TJ mentioned about throwing the grenade over, man, I've been doing that since 2005. I just pressed a button instead of did this. It's the same game, the same strategies, the same bosses, the same everything. The same.
Adapted for VR.
Yes. You can slap skulls around.
You can, but you know what? Later in the game, you can't slap lanterns and stuff. I actually thought that was kind of disappointing.
Don, you're voting for Pokemon?
Yeah, I will. And I also just want to say, I really want to love a game as much as David loves some of these Resident Evil games. 3 times in 1 year, I can't imagine.
I can beat that game.
Yeah.
David, have you ever seen this dude play RE2? Like, he's got.
I watched him when he was on stream. He was doing the speedrun thing. Yeah. I was like, man. Yeah. I was like, I don't know a single game like this one.
Runs up staircases faster than anyone I've seen in the game.
David lights some candles, puts on gets some incense going, and a little smooth jazz. And
so that's why I think this is interesting that David is pushing back so much on giving RE an award. Like, this is not that his fandom is not getting in the way here. Clearly,
yeah, it didn't. Yeah, that's, I don't know.
He knows that back for TJ getting betrayed because I betrayed him on Hitman.
David knows that RE4 has time.
Okay, so Denny, you're gonna stick with Monkey Ball, right?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Monkey Ball.
Hell yeah!
I think that's a good choice, and I actually played it. I didn't get to play RE, so
yeah. Okay, David, what you got?
really want to vote for Resident Evil 4, but I have to go with Pokemon because it's an actual remake.
Look at that.
Well, my vote is meaningless.
You gonna vote Monkey Ball?
I'm gonna vote for Monkey Ball.
Hey, that's not meaningless, man. It's good that Monkey Ball needs to know that you love it.
I do love Monkey Ball. I had the privilege of having that game early on Switch, and I was bowling every day for weeks. And yeah, to Denny's point, it's maybe one of the best party games to ship this year. Just the sheer amount of things you can do. I've had friends of mine who, like, you know, this was a GameCube launch title, right? So for us olds, that was in the early 2000s. Kind of right when I was getting into the industry. You know, I went to Space World. I wrote a preview for Super Monkey Ball on GameCube back then.
Damn.
It's wild. That's how old I am.
Space World, shit.
Yeah, Space World. Space World. But yeah, like I'm seeing my friends from that website, tendobox.com, introducing their kids to the Monkey Ball franchise with Banana Mania, and it's just awesome to see. Like, the same people, like, we would be in the dorm room in college, like, playing monkey bowling against each other. Like, all of us have grown up. Some of us have kids and stuff. It's like seeing a whole new generation experience Monkey Ball has been amazing. But yeah, Pokemon won, obviously. 4-3-3. It was actually, this is probably the closest
it's a close race.
Deliberation that we've had, which is funny, because when we started this, we said it would be quick, and it wasn't.
I never ever thought that.
Meme. That is totally becoming a meme in these deliberations. Oh, one more real quick, and then it's
that was the curse last year. We would always say that, and that'd be like the longest one.
I think it's relative, though. I think best PS5 game might be a little longer than this. Yeah, like that will be a meatier debate. Yeah, I think.
If my frame in Discord were a Telltale game, there'll be a line along the top right now.
I mean,
so TJ will remember that.
And it wouldn't be. And you know what? It wouldn't be a game either, so that's okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to be fair, this one came down to semantics. That was like 70% of this one.
Yeah.
But
hey, you know, I love the propositional logic debate.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Fun. All the kids love propositional logic.
Love those kids.
And minutia. Like, that's our bread and butter here at Shacknews. So yeah, we have it with 4-3. You know, RE4's gotten an award already. You know, it's okay.
I love that game. Yeah, I love that game.
I have a feeling this isn't the last we're gonna hear.
But I take emotion out of it. No emotion.
And I'm pretty sure this is the last time we're gonna hear anything about Monkey Ball. This entire
It's also the last you're gonna hear about Pokemon. This is the only category I was gonna champion this game this year.
That's what I'm saying.
There you go.
So congratulations to the Pokemon Company. And what was the dev that made this?
I believe it's ILCA. They outsourced this, which is also first for these mainline remakes.
Yeah, shout out to them for this fabulous remake. Even if Greg thinks it was easy to completely recreate your game, it wasn't, and we appreciate you.
We want to talk about what's easier, a VR game or a Pokemon remaster? Ooh, let's have this debate, please.
Greg, I've worked.
Never ever developed
a debate because the votes are in, and you.
Yeah, we don't have to.
You get nothing.
I've worked in game development, man.
Yeah, Greg, how many games have you shipped?
Congratulations.
I don't have to make a game to know how to make a game. Like, I know how to know the process. Shut up, Blake. No, I don't. Shut up, Blake. I don't know. No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
Order, Donovan. What the hell's this game called again?
It's Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. The official title.
Steven and I just bumped our heads on cameras, trying to get closer to Greg to look at him with disbelief.
What am I going to do with the award? Nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's the least of my concerns right now.